All right, mechanisms. Big buzzwords, but honestly, going to be one of the most important things that you need to understand. You're going to need to know how to actually implement it, how to go and do the research into mechanisms, apply it to your product. This is going to be a big unlock for a lot of you guys and has been a big unlock for myself, has been a big unlock for loads of guys in ecom who are hitting big scale. I can probably count on one hand the amount of people that I know who have hit scale without a mechanism on their product, simply just because their product doesn't necessarily require a mechanism. Fashion, for example, there is some brands that have mechanisms on their product in fashion, but if you're selling a dress, if you're selling a blazer, you don't necessarily require a mechanism. But if you're in any of these big markets, if you're in supplements, if you're in skincare, if you're in beauty products, you need a mechanism, and you're going to need the mechanism. And if we revert back to the market sophistication lesson, you probably remember this chart. Now, as I mentioned in this video, we're mainly in level 3, level 4 sophistication levels. And this is like essentially the war zone. You need to be having a mechanism here. If you don't have a mechanism, you essentially just have a vague claim. Now, we're going to dive into like what actually is a mechanism, because a lot of people do get confused. We're going to dive into some actual real live examples. So I'm going to pull up some ads from some really good D2C brands that are actually scaling right now. We're going to look at their top spending ads, how they actually introduce their mechanism into their creatives, what their mechanism actually is. And then we're going to go into actually identifying, researching, creating and applying our own mechanism. And I've got a bunch of different prompts that's going to allow you to easily do that with AI. So first of all, mechanism, what is it? It's essentially how you create belief in sophisticated markets. So it's not a feature, it's not a benefit, it's not a claim. It's the reason why your product works when everything else the customer tried did not. It answers these 3 questions that matter in a sophisticated market. How does this work? Why didn't the other stuff work for me? And why should I believe this will be different? Without a mechanism, you're just making the same generic claims, and the market has already heard of them before. So think about that. If you don't have it and you're just making the same claims, that market's been burned before. How the fuck are you actually meant to make a conversion? It's going to be very, very hard. Not only have they heard them before, but they've also been burned by them, which equals no trust if you lead with the same claims without backing them up through your mechanism. So that's kind of just what a mechanism actually is. You're restoring belief. You're not just leading with the claim. Yes, there still is claims within your messaging and within your ads, but your mechanism is essentially the anchor to that claim. It's backing it up with logical information as well, not just fluff. So why mechanisms are absolutely key. You'll find that with most products, as I said, you'll sit within stage 3 to 4 sophistication. They've already tried multiple solutions, seen the same claims being repeated. They've been burned before in the past. And essentially, they are just skeptical. They have their back up against the wall. They don't believe anything that you say. They don't think that these products work for them or this supplement works for them anymore. They've tried it, they've failed, and the mechanism is essentially going to restore that. So when they see another ad saying targets the root cause, clears acne, naturally restores hair loss, results in 30 days, their brain essentially immediately responds with, I've heard this before. And a mechanism, as I said, is what reopens belief. It creates new hope by introducing a new explanation. Super key there. Now, what does the actual framework of a mechanism look like? So first of all, the actual mechanism, it's the reason that your product actually works. And this is like honestly really key. You don't want to overcomplicate the mechanism. This is where like most people go wrong. It's where I've went wrong in the past. It should be simple and easy to understand. They should be able to digest it within 5, 10, 15 seconds. They should understand the science behind it as well. They should have that aha moment. Okay, like I understand how this works. I understand how this is going to get results for me. I understand why the products that I've used in the past didn't get me my desired results. And if you can tick off those boxes, you've got a great mechanism. Now, there's different ways that you can actually structure your mechanism. There's different things that you can implement into your mechanism. Sometimes it might just be one thing. Sometimes it could be a combination of things. But most mechanisms are going to come from an ingredient difference. So essentially, what's inside the product is different to the others on the market. Now, that could be where you're sourcing a particular ingredient from. It could be how pure or concentrated the formulation is or a particular ingredient is. It could be what form it's in, whether it's raw, activated, processed, etc., how it's actually manufactured as well. And then it could also be how ingredients are combined together. And actually, there's an example in one of the brands that we're looking at, and they've actually really leaned into this point here, and they're scaling. So it could be a process difference. So how the product is made is different. So yeah, manufacturing would be in this one. So the order steps happening, how it's prepared or treated, when or how it's activated, and the timing that affects performance. You also have delivery difference. So you'll actually see that a lot of brands will combine like multiple of these, especially ingredient difference and delivery difference. A lot of people will emphasize a particular ingredient and say like it helps with the effect or the dosage, or they'll say it helps with actually the getting into the body correctly, the delivery system. But delivery difference, how the body or user receives it is different, absorbs faster or deeper, it's applied in a new way, or it's a different format. So for example, you've seen a lot of gummies come onto the market recently, creatine gummies, vitamin C gummies, gummies are like a huge thing on the market. Also powders as well. Powders has been a big thing over the last 12 months, I would say. You've got a lot of people taking mushrooms in powder format as well. So yeah, there's loads of different things that you can do here. And then lastly, you've got constraint removal. So something that affected performance or was harmful is actually removed out of the product. So that could be something that it might be a particular ingredient that actually has bad side effects, might cause irritation or damage, skin damage. You might have some particular ingredients that they might be good for something, but then they might actually promote acne. Different side effects as well, actually adjusting the formula and removing these ingredients out. Poor absorption, or time, effort, or complexity. So, for example, a gummy, super easy to take, takes like 2 seconds. Whereas if you're taking certain capsules, maybe they're hard to swallow. Maybe it takes more time for them to take the product. A lot of people struggle with actually swallowing pills. So, actually gummy format is going to be a lot easier. But honestly, ingredient difference, process difference, and delivery difference are going to probably be where most of you guys create your mechanisms off, and it's what I've done as well. Now you want to go through the mechanism checklist. So I always knew personally the importance of mechanisms, but as I mentioned, I made the mistake of overcomplicating mechanisms, which actually harmed my ads and had the complete opposite effect of what a good mechanism should do. It's important that your mechanism is simple and easy to understand. If a mechanism is too complex, doesn't build belief, it just creates friction. Like people will just jump off the ad, or it will just be too kind of like woo-woo scientific. It'll go straight over their head, and it doesn't do the core job of the mechanism, which, as you know, is actually restoring belief. So it's key that you don't over-engineer your mechanism. Now, I've got a bit of a checklist here, so when I'm building out a mechanism, I'll take it through this checklist. And again, when we jump into the prompts and using AI to do our research and identifying a mechanism, don't always take it for what it is. You will have to do some manual adjustments in there as well, maybe dumb it down, maybe do some additional prompts to get whatever AI you're using to dumb it down as well. But does it explain why this works when everything else fails? Obviously, very fucking important that it does that, or else it's kind of pointless. Can this be explained in under 10 to 15 seconds? Again, needs to be digestible. Remember, these people are going to be initially hearing about your mechanism through an ad, either on Instagram or Facebook. They're not there to do shopping. They didn't come on these platforms with the intention to watch an ad. So if your mechanism is just full of fluff and it takes 30 seconds for them to understand, people's attention spans are shorter than ever now. So it needs to be explained in under 10 to 15 seconds ideally. Does it sound like marketing BS? Again, you just don't want it to sound fluffy and just like a load of bullshit, just random claims. And you can just tell, especially these days, people are giving their mechanisms just these cringy names, like fucking gay scientific names, and it just sounds like BS. Where you'll actually see some of the examples that we're about to dive into, they kind of just dumb their mechanism down. It might just be an additional ingredient, and that's their mechanism. It doesn't have to be called like, the bio roots 10x absorption method and stuff like that. It's kind of maybe used to work, but not anymore. And would removing it weaken the product? This is when you know you've got a good mechanism. Without the mechanism, is the product going to be worse? Is the messaging, is the delivery going to be worse? It should be. So now we're going to look at some mechanism examples. I feel like this is going to be valuable. And if I was watching this video, I'd like to see some actual real examples of what some good mechanisms look like. And this should hopefully give you a lot of context and help you when you're actually building out the mechanism for yourself. And again, you might look at some of these ads if you are already running ads yourself and you don't have a mechanism. It's kind of going to show you what your blind spot is right now. Because I know a lot of guys who run with no mechanism, and they send in ads, whether I'm on a live call or whether they, put their store link or their ads in a DM or in the Discord chat to me, and it's just vague. It's just claims that they're making. So there's got some good examples to look at here. Now, before we look at some ads, you have to reset how you look at them. Focus on the moment that the belief is flipped. Remember, mechanism equals belief is restored. This is where the viewer goes from, I've seen this before, to, okay, this might be the thing that actually works. This is what I've needed. This is what I've been waiting for. I need this in my life right now. And obviously, if you're doing direct response the right way, you're actually triggering that immediate response for them to go through and make the purchase. Now, when they do go through this moment, that is essentially the bit where your mechanism is introduced. So when you are watching these ads, ask yourself, what belief did the market have before this ad? What belief has been challenged or replaced? And what new explanation is introduced? First brand that we're going to look at is BioRoot Labs. Now, to give you guys some context, this is what they're selling. So they're selling a turmeric supplement. And you can see it's a powerful supplement for joints, inflammation, and mobility. Reduces joint pain and stiffness in 2 to 4 weeks. Targets inflammation at the root. 20 times absorption with black pepper extract. Here's a hint. Clinically dosed, no weak powder, clean, vegan, and third-party tested. So joint pain, pain relief, super sophisticated market. Definitely level 4 sophistication if you're pushing a product like this. So let's see what they do. There's a bit of a hint on their PDP here. So I'm going to give you guys some context before we watch the ad. What sets our turmeric apart? Most turmeric supplements on the market sound the same, but there are critical differences that affect how well they work in your body. Here's why ours stands out. Clinically effective dosage. So that's not really. So let's see. We don't just sprinkle in turmeric for the label. We use a high potency extract standardized to 95% curcuminoids. The active compounds that's responsible for its anti-inflammatory benefits. This matches the clinical dosage. But the main thing here is this. Enhanced absorption with black pepper. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, is notoriously hard for the body to absorb. That's why we include a patented black pepper extract proven in clinical studies to boost absorption by up to 200%. So, put yourself in the shoes of the consumer right now. You've had joint pain, typically people who have had joint pain, older demographic, they've had it for many, many years. They've tried many different products. They are 100% solution aware and also product aware, because a lot of them have probably tried turmeric capsules in the past as well to relieve their joint pain. But now this mechanism here is essentially explaining why all of these other turmeric supplements failed them in the past. Because it didn't have black pepper, which actually helps the turmeric get to the root cause and actually heal the joint. Now you can see how powerful that is, and that's just one difference. And if we come back to this here, we have an ingredient difference, which is black pepper, how ingredients are combined together. And then we have a delivery difference as well. How the body or user receives it is different, absorbs faster or deeper. Okay, so he's combined both of these into his mechanism. So category, turmeric / joint supplement, sophistication, stage 3 to 4 is a highly burned market. What the market already believes. They already believe that turmeric helps inflammation. They already know that curcumin is the active, curcumin, I believe it's pronounced. Most turmeric supplements don't really work, or I've tried this before. As I mentioned, a lot of this market has probably already tried this before because it's a very, very popular pain relief supplement if you have joint pain. They're in the pain relief category, so most of the audience is already solution aware and skeptical. Now, with all that in mind, let's go ahead and look at one of their top spending ads. So, first of all, what we're looking at here, we're looking at an authority figure. It looks like a pharmacist. Oh, here we see, it actually says, how to take turmeric the right way from a pharmacist, authority figure. And straight away, they're going directly to a solution-aware audience because they're literally saying how to take turmeric the right way. So if someone's going to actually be hooked into this video and watch the video, they've likely already taken turmeric in the past. This is a high curiosity hook because now they're thinking, okay, like, am I taking it the right way? Am I taking it the wrong way? What is the right way to take it? Or it's someone that is maybe still solution aware, but they haven't decided on a specific brand to buy from yet. So let's go ahead and give this a watch. And again, put yourself in the shoes of the consumer here. If you were this customer that was solution aware, you've got joint pain.
Powerful anti-inflammatory, but if you want all of the benefits of turmeric.
Right, let's go.
I'm a pharmacist, and here's how to take turmeric the right way. Turmeric is a very powerful anti-inflammatory, but if you want all of the benefits of turmeric for the anti-inflammation properties, you need to make sure you're taking the right dose, and you also need to make sure it's going to be very well absorbed. First of all, the dose. Turmeric needs to be at least 500 milligrams for it to be effective.
So now he's almost starting to go into the mechanism now. You know, turmeric is very powerful, but only if it's taken the right way. And now she's going into the dosage. They'll probably mention that it's a clinical dosage that they're using, which was on their PDP. And then they'll go into the delivery system and the ingredient difference, which is the black pepper extract.
For anti-inflammatory properties. Otherwise, it is not going to do you any good. You might get some other benefits of turmeric, but not with inflammation. Secondly, in order for turmeric to be absorbed, it needs to contain black pepper extract, and it also needs to
There's the main mechanism.
Have a carrier oil. Carrier oil is going to help its absorption and help its way into the cell. Otherwise, turmeric is not absorbed at all, so don't bother. This is the best one I found, and for the price, you really can't beat it. Because it is 1,000 milligrams of curcumin per serving, which is the active ingredient in turmeric. It also has black pepper extract right in it, and MCT oil, which is the carrier oil that's going to help its absorption. So if you were looking to supplement with turmeric for joint pain, inflammation, just get all of the benefits of turmeric, check it out and grab it quick because it is on sale right now.
So really, really good. And you can see just based off the engagement here, big winning ad for them, 20k likes, nearly 700 different comments. So they've actually done a really interesting job here and a really good job with the ingredient difference and the delivery difference. So not only do they have the black pepper extract, but they also have the MCT oil as well, which is a carrier oil, which again is going to help with the effectiveness of the supplement. And they've almost positioned this in a way that this is just completely superior to all other supplement products, to all other turmeric products on the market. And again, as I said, if you put yourself, well, you should have been in the shoes of the customer. If you've watched that ad now, do you have conviction to go ahead and buy this product? I certainly would. I wouldn't be looking on Amazon. I would just consider all other competitors or all other turmeric supplement products as ineffective. And this is the one that I need to get me out of my horrendous pain that I feel every single morning when I struggle to get out of bed. I struggle to go out and walk my dogs. You know, they're going to be bought in at this point because the mechanism is so strong. Now, let's do a quick recap on this. So they didn't notice, actually, they don't lead with exaggerated claims. Their mechanism is actually very simple but highly effective. They changed the reason why turmeric works. Their mechanism combines an ingredient difference, higher concentration, black pepper extract, which is a key ingredient when combined with turmeric, and it has a delivery difference as well, which is that MCT oil that she mentioned within the ad, which helps with absorption, and it also goes deep on how the body actually uses curcumin. The belief isn't this turmeric works better. It now flips to turmeric didn't work for you because your body couldn't absorb it properly. And why does this work for them? It explains and educates on past disappointments. It shifts the blame away from them, super key. It introduces new hope without unrealistic claims. And it makes the product feel like a no-brainer. As I said, if you're that customer watching that ad, you're in a lot of pain. You've tried loads of different pain relief supplements or turmeric supplements. It just feels like the logical next step to go ahead and try this now. That belief has been restored and you've got conviction. So honestly, 10 out of 10 job. Okay, so let's go into brand number 2. Brand number 2, 47 Skin. Really good skincare brand based out of predominantly the UK. Very, very saturated space that they're in. They're selling an anti-blemish and scar removal repair serum. Dealing with another highly sophisticated market. And we're going to dive into their mechanism as well, because again, these guys have done a really good job of their mechanism. I would say it's a little bit more complex than BioRoot Labs. By the way, BioRoot Labs, just to touch on that again, these turmeric supplements, most of them have black pepper extract in them as standard, but they have just emphasized that as their mechanism. So that's something that you can do. You can almost just create a mechanism with what you've already got. It's not a case of, no, you need to go and work on a custom formula or customize the product. A lot of the time, a mechanism actually already exists within the product. You've just got to identify and actually enhance it and focus on it. So let's look at the mechanism that these guys have. So category, acne scars, hyperpigmentation, sophistication level, pretty much stage 4, extremely skeptical. Skincare, I can tell you from a lot of experience, it's a very, very competitive market and customers are so fucking skeptical, like unbelievably skeptical. And it's a very competitive category. Consumers have already tried countless serums, heard countless claims, and have been burned countless times. So we're going to look at one of their top spending ads and let's actually see. So instead of like giving you guys context on the mechanism, I'm going to let you identify it for yourselves.
Not everyone else has to go through what I've gone through. There is something that exists, it's just that people aren't aware of it. I'm Nick Taylor, I'm 32 and I'm the CEO and founder of 47 Skin. I suffered very badly with spots and blemishes from the age of about 14 to 26, 27. I set about going to expensive stores. It was just incredibly confusing. They would recommend 3 or 4 products, none of it worked. It was really expensive, no money back guarantee, nothing, awful experience. One day, sat at work, my grandma sent me this little pot of cream through the post. Used it for 4 days and to my absolute surprise, my acne just completely cleared. Once
That's the introduction to the mechanism there. You know, my grandma sent me a pot of cream through the post. And in 4 days, it cleared my acne.
I'd found this cream. It turned out it was a scientist in Yorkshire who'd been mixing things together, silver and something called Kytoderm, and bonded those 2 things together.
Mechanism introduction.
It works across acne and spots and blemishes, rosacea, eczema, dryness. You're not happy, within 30 days you get your money back, simple as that. We have the only product in the world to contain silver Kytoderm. It's not something that other brands can offer. It's all real results, real people. That's how it's different.
So you can see most of that ad, or the core of that ad, was focused on that specific mechanism and that specific combination of ingredients that they use within their cream. And again, it's not like some, you know, scientific fluff that they've introduced. They've really dumbed it down. I received this in the post of my grandparent. I used it in 4 days. It cleared my acne. They're not going too deep into like how the ingredient works and what it does. They probably do in some of their ads, but you can see that this is actually one of their top spending ads and it's like straight to the point. And again, like we are the only ones who have this technology within our product. So leaving the customer with pretty much no other options. Now, these guys have actually went really deep into their mechanism on their website as well. But let's do a quick deep dive into it. So they anchored their entire product around one key unfamiliar ingredient. They even have a dedicated landing page on their site, which I just mentioned. So it is this right here. So the power of silver Kytoderm, you can see clinically tested to kill up to 99.9% of breakout causing bacteria, helps calm inflammation and reduce visible redness. A unique formula designed to support skin repair and help prevent future breakouts. And they've got a whole dedicated landing page to it. Dermatologist approved. And now they're going into like how it actually works. So it combines 2 natural ingredients in a patented mix. The silver creates an antibacterial shield over your skin, while the Chitoderm simultaneously forms a lattice-like structure on which skin cells can regenerate. It instantly kills bacteria, protects the skin, and aids in rebuilding. So instead of just leading with generic claims, the market has already heard thousands of times, like a lot of acne brands or acne products will do. They're not just saying clears acne, fades scars, targets the root cause. They actually shift their messaging to your skin isn't healing properly. So as we just read in one of the FAQs, it actually encourages the skin cells to actually renew. So your skin isn't healing properly. This changes how bacteria and inflammation behave at the cellular level, essentially leading with a new explanation, new information, which in turn creates new belief and hope for the customer. So really powerful. And again, this is a brand that has scaled really aggressively over the last couple of years. And would they have scaled if they didn't have this unique mechanism? They'd probably just be another acne brand, to be honest with you. They might have some success, but it's this like key mechanism and ingredient difference that allows them to stand out in the market and actually acquire customers who, if they didn't have a mechanism, would otherwise have just been skeptical and not actually bought. Now, lastly, we have Scandinavian Biolabs. So these guys are in the hair loss niche. Again, another competitive one. Honestly, pretty much everything is competitive now, which is why this is one of the most important videos and lessons that you're going to watch and you need to go and implement. High sophistication level, again, stage 4. And this is one of my favorite brands. Like, I think they've nailed it. Like, I look at these guys a lot for inspiration, not only on ads, but on things to do CRO tests on their PDP, etc. And they've almost like nailed the branded look where they don't look like dog shit like a lot of these brands do that are running on funnelish and just really aggressive with direct response. But they also do integrate a lot of direct response into the marketing as well and also have a good mechanism. So just to show you what they look like, they, again, like it's so clean, man. So clean. But this is their main product here. It's like a kit. So Shopman, Explore, it's this here. So the hair growth routine. And you can see that they have a really good AOV here. But super clean PDP. This here is actually one of their, this is like their mechanism. You can see that they've got the trademark logo next to it as well. And you can actually see how even just these examples that we've just looked at, they're all pretty much leaning into an ingredient difference. So take that as you wish. So an effective natural compound that demonstrated up to 89% reduction in hair loss and up to 52% improvement in hair density in individual studies. Now, to give you guys some context on the hair loss, hair growth space, like as I mentioned, they are very sophisticated, level 4 sophistication, a lot of level 5 who are just completely burnt out. But there's some like very traditional, well-known remedies, ingredients that people are familiar with. Now, one of them is rosemary oil. Maybe some of you guys have even tested the rosemary oil product. But a lot of this niche, a lot of this market have already tried that product. They've been burned by that product. So the ad that we're about to look at is interesting because they actually lead with like rosemary oil and they almost like debunk why it's not effective, go into their product and then introduce their mechanism as well, which restores the belief. So we'll go and take a look. So just here, you can see here, most of our they tried rosemary oil, growth shampoos, DHT blockers. The general common belief is that nothing works unless it's prescription or pharma. So I actually did a little bit of research into Reddit, into some different forums. A lot of people say like it needs to be minoxidil, it needs to be like pharmaceuticals for it to actually be effective. So that's kind of where the common belief is within the market. And these guys, they don't attack pharma head on, but they reframe why hair loss continues, like why it's pretty much like a never-ending cycle and how you can actually come in and break that cycle. So we'll look at one of their top spending ads. So remember I mentioned rosemary oil here.
Which is more effective? Rosemary oil.
So it's rosemary oil versus like the ingredient that they have in their formula that they've trademarked. So it's like a comparison, which is more effective. So this whole ad creative is pretty much around their mechanism, and you can see good engagement.
Oil or Capilla longa, which is more effective for hair growth. Whilst rosemary oil has some evidence supporting it, it might not be the most effective hair growth formula. Another effective ingredient that can help supporting hair growth is Capilla longa, which is an active ingredient derived from the Curcuma longa plant. That can help to reduce hair loss up to 89%. So if you are starting to see your hair shedding or experiencing some balding, you need this 3-step hair growth routine from Scandinavian Biolabs. It uses Capilla longa alongside multiple active ingredients that help support hair growth and reduce hair thinning. In a 5-month-long study of the formulation, 93% of users saw a reduction in hair loss, whilst 73% experienced an increase in hair density. Join thousands of men who have regained their confidence through using this hair growth routine today.
So you can see again as well, this is a pattern between all of these different ads that we're watching. They mention the mechanism, they touch on the mechanism, they back it up with social proof, but they're not going like super deep into like how it actually works in the scientific side of things. They leave that to the landing page. Remember, an ad, like your job from an ad is to just get the click. Like you want the click. So you don't want to drag it out too much, but then if you go through to their P2P, they're going to be touching on that a lot more, emphasizing on it. They'll have FAQs on it. You saw 47 Skin, they'll actually redirect them to an actual page that is explaining their mechanism in more depth. BioRoot Labs, you can see they've got the section that we were looking at here, which is what sets our turmeric apart. Again, like going more into the mechanism. And yeah, it's pretty common. They have here as well the science behind it. You can see that's why we use curcumin extract with black pepper extract, a clinically backed pairing shown to increase absorption by up to 200%. So they're all following a very similar playbook. Now, Scandinavian Biolabs, as we know, ingredient difference. So that specific ingredient that they mentioned, but then also they kind of say it's called a bioplexin, which is the combination of different ingredients that is essentially from plants, which aren't commonly used, and a delivery difference as well. So it's all about penetrating the scalp barrier and reactivation. Now, they've got a lot more ads which go deeper into the mechanism. That didn't touch on it too much. But essentially what this mechanism does and the belief flip that it gives the customer is it goes from those growth products don't work on me to they were never solving the real problem. And they position their mechanism as the thing that restores the scalp environment first, so follicles can become responsive again. Think about it logically. If your scalp is fucked, if it's got bacteria in it, if it's maybe dry, it's not going to be in an environment for those follicles to actually reactivate and grow again, which is essentially preventing hair loss and hair growth. So their mechanism is all about like get to the root cause, fix the environment in the scalp so it's a healthy environment for the follicles to actually reactivate and grow again. So you're not just in that constant hamster wheel like I mentioned up here. So it's essentially going to allow for hair growth to happen for the long term. You know, you're not just putting a plaster over the actual issue, and it's not just a short-term fix. So it restores belief and builds conviction. Now, think back to that graph again that I showed you in the market sophistication lesson, where we have the mechanism wars within level 3 and level 4. So in level 3 market, you win by introducing a new mechanism, which is essentially just restoring or building some hope within the market. And in the level 4 market, your competitors already have mechanisms, and to dominate here, you must move beyond the what and claim ownership of a specific attribute or superiority, which we've seen within all of the examples that I've shown you in the last 15 minutes. So first, claim an engineering attribute at level 4 sophistication. You don't have to change the core mechanism. You can upgrade the quality of the mechanism. Some examples, like we've obviously had some examples that I've shown you in some real ad examples, but to just kind of build off that, speed. Does your process or material interaction produce results faster than the standard solutions? Potency and strength. Is your concentration or material density higher than the label padded competitors? Absorption or delivery. Does your product reach the target, the follicle or the gut or the brain, whatever that may be, more effectively than others? And all of these have claimed something within one of these. Second is reveal the category flaw. Sophisticated customers are informed but often confused by conflicting claims. You win by providing new information that reveals why standard solutions are actually outdated or inefficient. And BioRoot Labs definitely did the best job of this. You know, they clearly within that ad made all other turmeric supplements inferior to what they have to offer. It's almost like a no-brainer for the customer to go ahead and use their product. And then mechanism validation. Are you just explaining how it works, or are you explaining why it's better than the other competitors' products? And then does your logic provide a blame shift that proves why their past attempts were logically guaranteed to fail? So if you go through all of this, this is how you get like a really powerful and effective mechanism. And what I will leave you on before we go into the next video, which is actually going through the prompts and actually building out a mechanism, is the best place to start is look at what your competitors are currently using as mechanisms right now. What are they explaining in regards to how it works? You know, are they leaning into just like, let's say like a level 3 mechanism, which if we come up here, you know, they're just introducing like a relatively basic mechanism. They're at level 3. So you can come in to like a level 4 sophistication and you can build on that mechanism that they've got, whether that be an additional ingredient, whether that be going into potency or strength. You know, you need to make sure that your mechanism is better than what your competitors are currently running. But I'll take you through an example of this as well. We're going to be creating a mechanism for the CyperGlow serum, and it's going to be fun. So I'll take you guys through it, and I'll see you in the next video.